Oscar Robertson and Wilt Chamberlain did things back in the 50s and 60s that we never thought we'd see done again. You know, I mean, from Wilt's 100 points to 50 points a game, Oscar with the triple-double record. That's why most of the time when guys have great statistical feats nowadays, we say that's the greatest stat post-merger.
Of the modern era.
Because before the merger, Wilt and Oscar's numbers were outlandish. So anytime you break one of their records, it is phenomenal. So, look, a lot of the videos that you saw last night, tributes players around the league, people around the league, about Russell Westbrook, they were calling him Mr. Triple-Double. So that's who he is now. He is Mr. Triple-Double, and that will be his legacy. Even if he goes on to win a ring, he will still be more known for averaging a triple-double in 4 seasons than for winning a championship. Now, that leads me to my next point. I don't think he'll win a ring. And what this record is strong objective, our strong objective argument that Russell Westbrook is the greatest player never to win a ring. Now, I think James Harden's better.
Wow.
Someone may think John Stockton's better. Someone may think Karl Malone's better. And you can argue any of them. But none of them led their teams further than Russ. So now we start looking at stats and we say, objectively, Russell Westbrook did something no one else in the history of basketball has done. 4 seasons of an average of a triple-double. I don't think you can say that about any other player that hasn't won a ring. And then the third thing is this, and I saw Isaiah Thomas, the legend, say this last night, and he's right on the money. You can no longer tell the story of basketball without Russell Westbrook.
That's right.
You can't, and that is huge. And depending on how short you make the story, I can maybe X out just about everybody else who's never won a ring, but I can't X out Russell Westbrook anymore.
That's right. And so the best players never to win a ring are kind of in chronological order. Elgin would be the best of the older era. Barkley, Malone, Stockton, Harden, Russ. And now you have to at least include Russ in that conversation. I don't know that I yet have him. In fact, I do know I don't yet have him at the top of that list. And I don't know that he'll pass Harden. Now, Harden could get himself off the list maybe more likely than Russ could. Right. But a couple points, and I just want to go back to Broussard quickly on this before we expand it. There's 2 points that I think the audience should know. One is this, and this is not taking anything away from Oscar or Wilt. Those games were played at a pace that was so fast, it was like they were playing a 54-minute game instead of a 48-minute game. People, because there's not a lot of video of it, people don't understand. The opportunities for the rebounds, assists, and points were so much greater in the 60s, which were played at a breakneck pace, about 15 more possessions a game. So that makes this even more impressive. The other thing is, and this is what I want Broussard's thoughts on. You and I talk a lot about the LeBron Jordan, right? And you bring up the fact that guys who play, a lot of guys who play, take Kobe over LeBron, right? That the guys who played against him, that there is a big disconnect there. There is no player in the league that there is a bigger disconnect between respect, admiration, and how good people think they are than Russell Westbrook when it comes to the numbers folks and the people that compete against him. The numbers folks do not like him. I think ESPN this year had him at the 36th best player in the league going into the season, despite being all NBA last year. While I disagreed with your MVP vote in 2017, I would have had him second. Like, that was a very, small disagreement. So what do you think? What's your take on the way the numbers folks say doesn't add to winning, actually is a negative on your team, and the way LeBron and not Iverson's not as playing him now, but the way those guys say this is one of the best players in basketball, hands down one of the best players in basketball?
Well, first of all, I'd argue strongly against it doesn't lead to winning. When he gets a triple-double, they've won 75% of those games. Whatever team he's on, when he gets a triple-double, 75%. Secondly, he's been to the finals, okay, with Kevin Durant, James Harden. And I can argue that Durant was just a bigger part of the problem, if you will, of why they didn't get to a championship in OKC as Russ was. Durant has yet to win the championship, without a stacked team, without Russell Westbrook. So right. I don't think we can argue that he doesn't win. A lot of those years in OKC when they didn't get back to the finals, Durant was hurt. He's always made the playoffs. And you look at Barkley, you look at Karl Malone, they had a lot of first-round exits too. So Russ has won as much as just about anybody who doesn't have a championship. Steve Nash never even got to the conference finals. So I would argue against that. And then secondly, Nick, this is just the cold hard facts. A lot, not all, but a lot of the analytics guys, they don't know how to just watch the game and tell you who can ball. All they know are the numbers.
They don't play basketball.
A lot of them didn't play at any level. I'm serious. And it might be true in the other sports, baseball and football as well. They cannot sit down and watch a game and tell you who can ball. All they can do is go by these freaking numbers, and that's why they disrespect Kobe. He's one too, Nick. You know this. The analytics guys don't love Kobe, and they feel the same way about Russ, about Iverson, about Isaiah Thomas. They disrespect a lot of these guys whose analytic numbers aren't great because they can't look at the game and say, oh boy can hoop. All they know are numbers.
Right.
That's right.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. That's in all of sports. The guys who sit back and girls that sit back, females that sit back and talk about the numbers, that's what they do great. And it's great for the sport because it informs the coaches, it informs the players on what is going on and where you can improve. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that you have to play sports to be able to talk about sports, but numbers aren't everything. You got to watch them. They don't tell the whole story.
You got to be able to watch them.
Yes, and you got to know it too. Exactly. Look, here's the deal, and I'll be quick here because you guys, really covered the, everything when it comes to Westbrook. What he did is phenomenal, and the reason why is because there's a lot of guys that come into the NBA and say, this is what I do, or they're known for one thing. I'm a 3 guy, I'm a D guy. I'm a guy that can, get assists, rebounds. You can go throughout the history of the game and you can say this guy does this well. Well, he's not the greatest at any of them, but he does them all well. For this guy to average a triple-double, Wilds, is remarkable because there's guys out there that just comes in the NBA and say, I want to average 30 points. I want to be a shooter. This dude every single night step on the court, and like you said earlier, Nick, and you don't know if it's game 7. You don't know if it's the playoffs. He's giving you his all, and he respects the game, and you have to appreciate that as a fan, as a player, as an analyst. You have to respect Russell Westbrook because he does it all.
That's right.
Okay. I love Russell Westbrook, but his legacy is a lot like his fashion choices. You can admire the effort, and you can say that he pulls stuff off and does things that no one else can do. But you're lying if you say it always works and that it doesn't occasionally backfire. And that's why you watch guys play basketball, but you have a Russell Westbrook experience. And before you throw all of analytics out the door, can I show some stats from my buddy Kurt Goldsberry, who does have a savvy sense of basketball? So here's Russ, the outlier for assists and rebounds. And the next graphic is not some crazy advanced stat. It's just how good of a shooter he is. And earlier in the show, Nick, you were like, yeah, the guy doesn't shoot. Big deal. If he shot well, he'd be Michael Jordan. Totally fair. The other knock on Westbrook, and I think we would be doing a incomplete job if we didn't mention it, is that Kevin Durant didn't just leave Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant left Russell Westbrook. Kevin Durant didn't think that he had a team that could win when Russell Westbrook was on the floor. Kevin Durant's not a basketball nerd. Kevin Durant's not in the Sloan Sports Conference. He just felt like, you know what? I've reached the ceiling with this guy, and I think that affects his legacy.
Or he just wanted a cheat code to a ring because he didn't play well in those final 3 against Golden State when they had him by the throat. Now it's not just that he didn't play well. Russ didn't play that was a whole loss. The coaching, the team, everybody. And KD just said, you know what? Let me shortcut this thing. And KD, by the way, also left Steph. He said, hey, I'd rather go play with Kyrie than Steph. Like, that also happened. Nobody uses it as an indictment on Steph. What's frustrating with Russ is we focus for a guy. This is something Bill Simmons used to say is a 90-10 guy. 90% of what he does is good, 10% of what he does is bad, and we focus 90% of our time on the 10%. We know what he's bad at, but he's so great at the other stuff. And it's also, to me, in an era of load management and taking games off and easing yourself into the season, there's some Garnett in him that, my God, he's exhausted and the game hasn't tipped off yet. He's insane. To me, that's inspirational. And it's just odd, the guys that Broussard mentioned Stockton. Nobody hangs this anchor around Stockton's neck of never won a ring. And why? Because Stockton lost to Jordan when he got there? Well, Russ lost to LeBron when he got there. Then he lost to a 73-win team. Oh, well, Russ had Kevin Durant. Stockton had Karl bleeping Malone, who's not Durant, but an all-time great player. Second all-time leading scorer. And he lost to him. And he had him, and they couldn't win a title. So, listen, he's going to go down in history as one of the 30 greatest players ever. Sounds like Broussard might have him as one of the 25 greatest players ever. And this is his legacy now.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.